this one a minute so we have this in on the recording then.
Looks like it's recording now.
Okay. Me.
I just want to say that's going to be hard to follow up Carol's great use of words. I'm like, picture looked good to me. I really liked this picture when I first saw it. It made me go, wow, those colors just really screamed at you. The way the blue in the water and the sky are very similar. You know, there's not a whole lot of difference in there. So you're getting the reflection is showing the colors just as you're seeing them with your eye. The water is perfect for the reflection shot. You know, timing is everything when you go out to get these. You know, sometimes you just have to wander outside to get those pictures. You're not going to take it from the living room couch. This is a great example of being there to capture something that's just a stunning shot. One thing I might play around with is one of my favorite tools. You hear it a lot tonight from me is a dehaze slider. I really like that. It helps pull some stuff out. It may not work on this image. And you can go overboard with it. So I'm talking one or two little clicks to the right on that may make the colors just pop a little bit more. The texture slider is another one I started playing around with a little bit that may help with this if the dehaze doesn't, but I really like the way it is. So good job on this one. Once again, I wish I had Carol's flowing words of effervescence and wispy clouds, but no, here I am.
And just because I was fumbling a little bit, this is Amazingly Vibrant by Ann Kennedy.
Nice job.
Okay. Oops, one too many. All right. There. This is Before It Snows by Steve Engel.
Okay, the reflection here has a painterly quality to me that puts me in mind of the Impressionist painters. The dry grass on the far shore looks soft and carries that impressionistic reflection into the real image here, the real life. Though I know it's dry grass and I know it's going to be stiff and picky. The title suggests that the weather might be a little colder than it looks before the snow. The image is sharp from front to back with really lovely evergreen texture, and it's punctuated by those, the birch tree on the far right. And the image has a very peaceful feeling. And if I could change anything, it would be to see a little bit more of it top to bottom, but it's lovely.
Okay. Any other comments or? Okay.
Nothing in the chat.
Okay.
If people do want to make a comment about their photo, please put a chat in and I'll pause. That way we can move efficiently through.
Right.
Okay.
This is Brownbridge Reads by Rick Sack.
One of the things I saw about this image that caught my eye, not right away, but pretty quickly, is how the clouds are in the water. You don't see the clouds. You have no idea what the sky looks like until you look into the water. It's real subtle how that's there. I'm trying to think of really fancy words like Carol used, but I don't have them, so bear with me. This is one of those images I'd spend a little bit of time playing around with, kind of working the scene, if you will. Maybe lowering the camera, raising the camera up, seeing what you get. There's something that's just asking for more here in this. I'm not sure what I want to see that I'm not seeing. It's exposed really nicely. It's in focus from front to back. The image is perfectly taken. There's just something I'm not seeing I want to see, and I don't know what that is. And maybe that's part of the attraction of this image too, is it's got me wanting to see just a little bit more. And sometimes that's what you need from a good image. The one thing is I really don't have a place. Maybe say it's blooming amazing. Thanks, Dave.
There you go.
My eyes really don't know where to go on this, so I'm seeing all kinds of little things that I wouldn't see if I had those leading lines or the stuff. So it's kind of a neat picture the way that I've got to look around more to see it all. Once again, my favorite dehaze slider may do a little something on this. I'm not sure it'd make any difference or not. I really like the way this one is exposed and the way the water reflects those clouds. And that chat is really distracting. That's all I've got on this one. Working the scene a little bit, maybe see if you can get something different is the big thing on this.
Okay. Next up, I can get it, is Crossing Over, Jerry Stutzman.
Okay, this image to me has a sense of urgency given the title and all of the movement, including the wave action, the blurred edges of the truck. It's a little bit hard to see on my small laptop. On my big screen, it's easier, but all of the edges of the truck have a little bit of blur. It's clear that it's moving. But I know it's sharp because the bridge supports and the trusses and the beams are all sharp, given what must be the ISO in a low light situation. So, and then the movement of the setting sun, which is to me being overtaken by those clouds. So a real sense of urgency. I feel like it's the start of a great, if lonely, story. I like the strong line right through the middle of the image and the expanse on either side of that bridge up and down. If I were editing, I might consider cropping just a little bit out of the water to get rid of that, the brush in the lower left, but that's a minor thought. Overall, the image provides a level of mystery to me that keeps me wondering.
Okay. And then back to Andy. We have Double Your Pleasure, Dennis Holly.
When I saw this, I'm like, wow, I wish I was standing there and could get this image. This is I love the composition on this. I love the reflection. The water is just perfect for this shot. Couple of things I might do is I want to see a little bit more of the tree lining or framing that. So maybe a little dodging or the brush tool to help lighten up the leaves on the left and up on the top a little bit to match kind of what's on the right there to help pull that out. Not a lot though. I just want to see a little bit more detail in those. And the only thing that really, after looking at this for a while, kind of distracted from it for me was the lily pads in the bottom left, because you got that beautiful mirror-like reflection and the reeds and all that, just kind of making that glass-like look, and then the lily pads kind of break that up a little bit. So the one thing I might have considered was just picking the camera up just a little bit so that those lily pads weren't in that shot. Then again, there's people who really like that too. So it's all about, what you're looking for and what story you're trying to tell. But that's the one thing that screamed at me to change was to try to just lift that up a little bit more and get a little bit more of the sky or the trees up above. And maybe a little bit of playing around with trying to pull the details out of the bridge up above, using I can't think of a dodging tool or a burning tool just to see if you can get some of those detail on those rocks. But it's a great shot, and I really like this. This is something I can see hanging in my wall. Except for I didn't take it, so it won't be.
All right. And then Equivalence by Tim Wade.
Well, I just have to pause a minute when I see this. This image is a powerful reminder for me of the grace and beauty of nature. And I love the interpretation of reflection here. And the depth of field is exquisitely perfect. If we could enlarge that right now, you would see that the seeds, the delicate fluffy coma, the pods are sharply in focus. It's really just beautiful. And that circular component in the bottom middle seems to pull the milkweed pods over. And then the velvety blurred portion, that light color that is around the milkweed pods almost creates a halo around the subject. And technically and artistically, I think this is just a lovely, lovely image, and I wouldn't change it in any way. I think it's a great homage to nature. It's a stunner.
I have a question on this one.
Yeah.
Is this a mirrored shot? Or
No.
did you take this as it sits?
Well, it's a mirrored shot.
Okay.
In the sense that I didn't use a mirror, but
Yes.
I made it a mirrored shot.
I'm like, if you found this out like this is ungodly amazing.
Oh, no, no. it's one
Beautifully.
side equals the other side. That's why I called it equivalence.
It's beautiful. I love it. It
It's
made,
just-
I'm looking at it going, is it? It looks like it is.
Yeah.
I appreciate all of that. Thank you. Okay. Next up is a Guernsey Autumn Color by Steve Engel.
You know, Steve, if you weren't spending so much time behind the camera, you'd have that deer by now, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't have got this awesome shot. I really like the way this looks. I like how you've got the framing of the trees on the left and the right there, bringing your eye right down to center to the lovely birch and I'm not sure what tree that is on the right. It might be a maple with the orange, could be oak. I'm not real good at those tree identifications, but I just love it. It takes me right down there and I want to go jump in that lake, although it looks like it might be a little chilly with the leaves turning color. The only thing I would like to see a little bit more of is the tree on the left. Maybe lighten that up just a little bit so you can tell, you can see the white on the bark there. But that might not even help the picture. That might take away. But that was the one thing I saw and went, looks beautiful.
Steve, you can make a comment by hitting your space bar and letting everybody know. Wait a minute. Steve's got a quick comment. Let me just see if I can make this work. Steve, did you want to make a comment? All right. You can hit the space bar. There you go,
How about
Steve.
that? Can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the same shot, same spot as the last shot of the reflection. Where the trees was before snow. This is before the leaves fell, and the other one was after the leaves fell.
Wow.
This is gorgeous.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Amazing
Steve.
how different it is between, what was it, a month or so?
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
All right.
Okay, next up is Jordan Brilliance by Mary Picar.
Okay, undulation is the word that comes to mind when I scan this image. The smooth rocking up and down as the water flows across and tugs at that grass or reeds. It's almost hypnotic. And the reflection is most prominent for me right at the boundary of where the water and the grass meets. And it really gets light, and the blue is really highlighted right next to the green. It looks like there's sky in there and also some sunlight. And while there is texture in the image, it is soft and almost furry. The rusty color stands out against the green in that grass, and the tight crop and lack of context for me creates an abstract type image.
Okay.
Great. No comments, Tim. You're good.
And then The Last Swim of Summer by Jerry Stutzman.
The simplicity of this shot, but yet the beauty is what makes it. The leaf just kind of out in the middle of the lake or the river. You really don't know because you can't tell. It's a stunning shot. I love the color. I love that the leaf is a little bit in shadow, but yet you're getting that reflection yet. There's nothing I can say on this to change, to make it any better or I love this shot. I wish I had some of those great words Carol had. Maybe she could throw one out for us.
I think he had somebody down below holding that thing up.
Yeah. Great shot, Jerry.
Yeah, this is taken out by the Old Mission Lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
I was walking along, and the water is just perfect. This is blowing up. I mean, it's focused in quite a bit on it, but the water was more glassy, and that leaf just begged to be shot, taking a picture of it. It's just sitting out there by itself in the water. I said, wow, that was a real blessing to see that. So thanks for all the good words.
And the texture of the water.
Yeah.
It's just, it really, it's a great shot.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, next is Little Cabin on the Pond by Jim Jerwitz.
Okay, I get an instant chill as I look at this image. The infrared editing foreshadowing what's to come in northern Michigan. And you know, if you stand far enough back, you're not sure if it's snow, and when you get in close, you know that it's not. The depth of field provides detail throughout, even with the limited intermediate tones in the image, there's still a lot of detail. The high contrast between the trees and the dark cabin, the clear subject that creates a homey yet dreamlike feel. The trees create almost a wreath around the cabin. It's a very interesting image, and I'd consider it using it for your Christmas cards.
Huh?
Yeah. So
Thank
Jim, how did you what kind of post-processing did you use, or did you do infrared?
I have an infrared camera. It was modified to shoot just infrared.
Right.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. You can tell it's a nice piece of equipment then. Wow. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Okay.
if we blow this up, we can also see the name of the cabin. I don't remember what it was, but there's, just given the size, at least on my laptop screen here, it's hard to see, but it's in there.
Yeah,
It's,
Jim, do you mind me asking, where'd you take this?
It's Bookaloo. It's on Bookaloo Road. It's off 22 over by the Platte River. It's one of my favorite spots. It's just, if I had a place to have a cabin, that would be the place. It's just, you can drive back to it almost, and very photographic.
Wow.
Okay.
If you ever get out that way.
Occasionally. All right, now we have Mirage with Reflections, Jay Peterson. Andy.
As I look at this, I wonder where it was taken. I mean, I know this area inside and out, but I've never got a picture of the bridge with the windmill sitting there, looking like I'm looking across the lake into trees. I mean, it's an awesome shot. I love how this one turned out. The clouds, the ground, the bridge, everything just comes together to kind of make you just stop and pause and look at it. I mean,
That is good.
I don't know what to say other than wow. I love how it was stitched together, unless you have some tool I don't know of that got this great panorama that I'm not seeing any seams. I'm not seeing anything wrong where it was put together. It's just, when I saw this one, I had to stop and look at it and just take it in, because it wanted me to soak it in. And it's kind of relaxing with that hazy mirage look to it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. No comments, so it's all good, Tim.
Okay. Next is Morning Stillness by Mary Peacock.
Well, this composition and the stillness are almost disorienting in this lovely clear reflection. The subject seems to be floating above and to be apart from the strong blue background. The fading of color at the top edge of the image is the only thing for a moment that reminds me that I'm looking at a reflection of the sky and not some Caribbean blue colored backdrop. Zooming in reveals what is probably a bug. You can't see it here, but there's just, in this perfect water, there's a little ripple, and I would imagine a bug just landed right about where that cursor is right now. Is that, no, that's mine. Oh, okay. Right. I don't know. That was good, Reg. You put it right where it was. It's right in there. There's a yeah, right there. You can see it. But otherwise, it's just a featureless blue background. The bright colors in the image and the surprising vegetation growing out of the stump reminds us of the resilience of nature. If this were my image, I'd have some fun rotating and changing the crop to see just how disorienting I could make it. It almost looks like a cabin with wings. I tip my head sideways. So that's kind of what I like to do with those kinds of images. But
Nice.
overall, it's just a beautiful meditative capture.
Great. Okay. Oops. And this is My Blue Heaven by Helen Denoyer.
You know, there's two things I hear a lot when I'm hanging out with other photographers. One is you only get the shot where you shot you are there to take. And the other is sometimes the simplest little change will make a huge difference in an image. The second one is about how you work the subject at the right angle, a little to the left or a little to the right, maybe a little higher, a little lower. Little change can make or break that image. And as I looked at this, it's a really simple image. There's not a whole lot to it. But yet, there's a lake, a boat, the fog over the surface, the glass lake surface, the trees and the clouds. That's what you see when you first saw the image. And I was just blown away. Then something started to bother me, and it bothered me a lot. And that's that sand down at the bottom. I didn't like it at all. And then I started looking at the sand. And I started to realize that the sand's telling a little bit more of the story that you don't see. You see the footprints in there. They made a couple of trips to the boat. They backed their car up to the lake, and you can see the tire tracks in there. And you see a whole lot more of what was going on in this image. So once I got past the distractions, I realized the distractions was an important part of what this story was and what it told me about what was happening. It made me stop and look in the boat to see what did they put in there when they made their trips. I see what looks like a hat, maybe a tackle box, some chairs, the oars, maybe they put the motor down. I mean, there's just a lot more to that story. And had I done what I wanted to do to this image, the story would have been lost. So that simple little movement that I would normally recommend, just a little bit up, maybe a little bit to the right, would have completely destroyed this shot. You were standing in the right spot. The camera was pointing in the right direction. The focus is perfect for this shot. The clouds, the fog, the water, the boat, the sand, everything worked together to tell this amazing story that I would have lost had I just been a little to the left or a little to the right. Or not I, had the photographer been a little to the left or a little to the right. Great job on this one. It's a beautiful image. This one I may consider putting on my wall even though I didn't take it, because it takes me out and wants me to go back out into the water, and it leaves me thinking I'm there. So great job.
She'll know where you got it. All right, next up is the pianist, David Fox. Or no, sorry, Origami Reflection, Alicia Erickson.
Well, this is a really striking, modern, high contrast image that really grabs and holds my attention. The angles, the lines, and the strong black and white contrast with the organic petal-like curves in that range of gray in the pattern on the boat really struck me. I did see Alicia's image on Facebook just a couple of days ago, so I do know that this was really creative studio work, and I wouldn't change a thing in it. I just love to see how far she could push this. It's really fun, lovely.
Yeah, this is almost like commercial work. You could see this being used in a lot of things, you know.
Okay. And now we have The Pianist by David Fox.
This is where I wish I had Carol's wide vocabulary. It's an amazing picture. I love how the reflections are just a little muted, a little darker than what the original or the artist's hands are. I love the details. You can see the hairs on the top of his hand, both in the reflection and on his hand. If you look close, it's right there. It's just a perfect, and it's what you see when you see a really nice piano. It's how shiny and clean, and the position of the camera was perfect for this. I mean, it's just an amazing shot. And I knew when I saw it who took it before I saw the name. This is a Dave Fox, no doubt, shot.
Yeah.
And I expect to see this in a magazine or publication or cover of something. That's just what I expect and see from Dave.
Yeah, very nice.
And it's really hard to critique somebody's work who you look up to so much.
David, people are wanting to know where you took it. Could you unmute yourself and let people know where this was taken?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was at the Denos. It's probably one of the last concerts I was at. I shot. It was one of their jazz celebration. I'm trying to remember now, and I think that's David Chown on piano there. And I shoot the big picture, but I love the details, and this you couldn't pass.
Yeah, it's great.
The only thing I see, and maybe it's just this image now, is the ring looks like it might be a little blown out in a spot where I lose some of the detail, Dave. I think that's the only thing I can see looking really, really hard. I mean, I had to find something on you, Dave.
Well, it's real tough lighting, so
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but beautiful shot.
thanks.
Wait.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Pink on Pink by Bill Mumford.
Okay, what a fun image. Whatever the season, I don't know if this is summer, but that pink and deep blue in the image give it a quintessential summer feel. There are multiple flections that keep my eyes wandering and looking into the image. There are multiple reflections. Let's see. Oh no, let's see. The green and the blue in the upper right are kind of smooth and blended, and then the more distinct lines in the lower middle between the pink of the big boat and the pink of the little dinghy or little I guess that's a kayak. Those are more structured, and then the pink across the bottom and its various reflections all point to that fender on the dock. And they also then, the dock leading away points to something beyond. I really love the crop in this one. It minimizes any irrelevant clutter and leaves enough context to make me want to see summer again.
Very nice. Anything? Okay. Next up
Fantastic,
is,
Bill.
oops, sorry. Next up is Pond Frost by Tim Wade.
I like how muted this is. It reminds me of going out and getting ready to hunt deer right along the banks of a swamp area I hunt. It looks just like that, and it took me to that and made me nice and relaxed. I have no idea where this shot is. I know it's not where I hunt, but it took me to that spot. And the colors and the tonality, and it was almost a Carol word, tonality. Just made me at peace for a moment. Took me away from the stress of trying to do the critiques. I like the crop on this. I like the point of view. I wouldn't shoot it this way, but I would miss a great shot. I had to pick the camera up and had a little bit less reflection and more tree, and I think that would have ruined this image. I think what you got and what you captured is just an amazing, and like I said, it made me just kind of relax for a second as I was getting ready to come up with what to say on this. And the reflections, the focus, it's just great.
Thank you. Now we have Reflections on Summer by Bill Mumford.
Okay, let's see. Okay, what strong horizontal and vertical lines this image has. Driving the image, it almost creates for me, a graph paper-like structure to it. Horizontally, there's the horizon furthest back, the awning and of the boat on the far left, and then those sailbags. There's the bottom of the boat as it touches the water. Vertically, there are the masts, the lines, the posts, the men, and some pretty distinct reflections for all of those things in the water. All of the structure in the reds and the blues make for a really strong composition, in my view. And the image is sharp from front to back. It's well balanced with the elements lining up well, in this case in thirds. The patterns make this an appropriate image for an upcoming assignment, I think, had it not been used here. Really a thoughtful image, strong.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay, next we have Reflections Abstract by Rags Avery.
You know, I look at this and I see myself sitting out there trying to capture a shot with the reflections, the way the water is. I love sitting out in the woods when it's like this, the colors and where you get the nice fall feel. And I looked at this, I'm like, wow, he nailed it. And then I look at it a little bit more and there's some distractions off on the left that I kind of don't like. And I look on the right and there's distractions there where the trees are cut in half. And I would either want to see just a little bit wider where I got the trees on the left and right complete, or a little bit in where the trees on the left and right that are cut in half aren't quite there. Because my eyes just keep going out to both sides and it's taking me away from what I want to see in the middle. And then I think about this is a shot that I'd sit at and I'd play around with I'd probably sit here for an hour, turning the camera and zooming in and picking it up and picking it down. And I wonder what this would look like as in a portrait format where you got a little bit more of the top of the trees and then on both the reflection and the, really wish I had a pointer and you could see what I was doing. This doesn't work. But where you can see the reflection on the top and the bottom of the trees. And I'd be a little bit more towards almost to the far right side of that. So you get that barren pine tree in there. Because I think that really tells, that's what really makes that shot is that pine tree. It just looks different than everything else. I love the shot. I think it's gorgeous. Then I think of the rule of thirds in the center of the shoreline in the middle doesn't fit that, but the rule of thirds wouldn't make this shot. It would ruin it. And I think it's some other composition tips that people give me, and it just wouldn't do it. So the only real thing I think I would change on this, Rags, is I would just those two trees on the outside edges. So my eyes aren't keep getting pulled out to that bright spot there.
I love it. Thank you. That's excellent idea. I'll go back and take a look at that.
And of course, like anything else, sometimes you start messing around with that and it ruins the shot too. So who knows? That's all I've got, sirs and ma'ams.
Okay. Next is Reflections in the, Reflections in the Round, Helen Denoyer. All right, why isn't this staying put? There.
Okay, this is just a fascinating image that I can't quite figure out. So the subdued colors in this image are really my cup of tea, that pale gray, yellow, and pale kind of pink salmon. And at first glance, the composition, lines, and bokeh are perfect. And then I'm noticing the way the light and the color reflect on the dock, and I take a closer look and I'm like, is that snow on the dock? Is that a layer of water? I think it's snow, I think. And then I'm looking at the bird in that round, that sphere, and it's sharper in the sphere, it feels like, than it should be. So, and then where's the photographer in that sphere? So I just think it's fascinating, but I just don't know how the photographer created this, and if it was done in post. It's just a challenging image for me to look at, and I love it. And I'd love to hear how it was made.
Yeah, since Helen's not here, you can't ask her. I always thought that those photo balls, for lack of a better term, inverted the image as well.
Oh,
But this one's,
it's
you know,
not
right
quite
side up,
inverted,
not quite inverted, no. So,
right?
yeah, I don't understand that part of it, but very nice.
I wonder
It's
if you
beautiful.
cut it and flipped it, the ball, if that was flipped in Photoshop.
Right, right.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, I
you're
thought-
right, it's a
yeah.
stunning shot. And it makes me go, how did she get that way?
Mhm.
You're right, it should be upside down or inverted.
Yeah,
Right,
it's just
Oh.
beautiful. Anyway,
yeah, in any case, very nice. Next is Reflections at Morro Bay. Mary Ellen Sullivan.
Mm.
You know, I saw the title and I'm looking for the two rocks out, or the two stacks out there in Morro Bay. I love that area. I love this shot. It's once again, you know, the rule of thirds doesn't apply on this one. I think that would ruin it. I love how it's right down the middle. It's almost a mirrored reflection of the clouds in the water. The water not being as crystal clear as some of those other ones we've got actually works really nice in this, because it adds a little bit of texture to that, to the clouds down below. And the colors of the sky and the water, just where the camera is, help spread that across that water. If it was any higher or any lower, you wouldn't get that pretty spread across the water. You either worked the shot really well or you were standing in just a perfect spot. I love this. I like how on the outside edges of the image, the color, the brightness of the setting sun fade almost equally. It's a great shot. I like how this one turned out. The only thing, once again, my favorite tool, the dehaze slider, maybe one little notch to the right, may pull out some of those details in the clouds in the sky. But like everything else, it could also ruin the shot by bringing in a little bit too much detail there that you might not want. I love it.
Okay, and next after that is the San Simeon Pier, also by Mary Ellen Sullivan.
This is a beautiful image with reflections, but it also encompasses patterns. So this would have been a nice submission in a couple of weeks or a couple months when we have patterns as a topic. But the bridge beams, the trusses, the guardrails, the waves, and the clouds all create some patterns. The blue in the sky and the water underscore those dark colors of the pier. And the pier, the cloud patterns, and the wake lines all point to the mid-left edge of the image where the man in the kind of pink-orange jacket walks his dog, which is also reflected in the water as well. This image is sharp from front to back, and those patterns and horizontal lines make it really engaging. It's beautiful.
Okay. And next up is Reflection Study 1 by Carol Greilick.
Okay, Carol does these images that I just have no clue. Just blows my mind. I'm like, what the heck did she take a picture of? Is this a frozen ice cube? Don't say anything yet, Carol. I spent a few minutes looking at this image and turning my head to the left and kind of to the right and just trying to figure out what it was I was looking at. You know what? I still don't know what was captured here. As I was looking at it and studying, I got frustrated and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. Came up a few ideas, was still not sure. And once I came to grips with the idea, I may never know what it is, I started to look at it as just art. I stepped back and took a deep breath and let my eyes go out of focus and come back into focus. And I saw something. And I let my eyes go out of focus and come back into focus, and it caught something else. And as I'm doing this, I realize I'm taking deep breaths. And as my eyes are coming out of or coming back into focus, I'm exhaling and I'm getting relaxed. It's about 15 seconds of deep breath and holding it and letting it out. And I still have no clue what this is, but the stress of the day kind of went away from that. So now after I'd done that for a little while, I found something in the image that I don't find in many works of art. I mean, I look at a lot of different stuff, and this actually brought me some calm, peace, and a distraction from what's going on in the outside world that we're all dealing with right now. I don't even know if I want to know what the picture is at this point. It may ruin the whole calming vibe. It may be something that I once I know what it is, I no longer feel that calming peace. It could be one of those stressors in my life that's just captured in the perfect way that takes it away from it. It really brought out an intense emotional reaction of calmness. I don't know if you can have an intense calmness, but I did. Yeah. I love it. Great job. I could never take this kind of picture, create this kind of art. It's not my style. I knew it was yours before I saw the name. And I really appreciate this after I stopped trying to figure out what I was looking at.
Oh, well, thank you, Andy, so much. This is a reflection, and it's just a reflection of pure light. And it was taken during later in the spring, during the first shutdown. And you discover all kinds of things in your house when you're there all day, when you've never been there all day before. Right. And the light bounced through, shone through a high window, and near as I can tell, bounced off a photograph that was framed under glass and shone onto a dark wall. And I don't, the shadows, all I can think is that those shadows came from like uneven bounce of the light, but that's what I mean, photography at its essence, what does light do?
Yeah, you can almost see
masterful,
the
Carol, masterful. Yeah.
Okay. And next we have Serene by Ann Kennedy.
Okay, this was such a striking image. And when I look at it, I see a wonderful story unfolding. I feel like I'm emerging from some sort of building or dwelling, and I'm seeing past the vegetation that frames the scene. I'm invited into a beautiful and mysterious dream world. The boat, the dock, the calm water, the misty horizon, and the bend in the trees all invite me to explore. The subtle browns and blues really complement each other, and the details revealed the bark texture, the berries. There's that bush right up by the dock, and when you enlarge this, you'll see there are berries there. There are raindrops in the grass by the boat. I don't think they're pieces of frozen water. I think they're raindrops, so this is after a rain. The lacy edges of the oak leaves across the top are really striking, and there is so much to discover here. I wouldn't change a thing about the composition. And the only thing I wonder about is whether it's early morning or late evening. And for whatever reason, if I had to guess, I would say it was morning, but it's just a beautiful image filled with sereneness and texture. It's beautiful.
And another example, if you only get the shot you're out to take.
Right? Yeah.
And it does look morning to me too. Just the fog's just starting to, or the mist is coming off, and those raindrops may be fog or dew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, next up is Carol Greilick's Reflection Study 2.
Oh no. Oh, there's my note. Whew. I did have technical difficulties. I got these put in here. I looked at this and I knew right away who took it.
Yeah.
It's got me looking, and I'm like, where, what, why, how. And I love how I had to stop and look to see what was there and figure out what was missing. That's what you do, Carol. You make me stop. Your images make me stop and look and go, okay, what is it? Why isn't? What's missing? What am I not seeing that she's done here? The only thing I would consider on this one, and it's like everything else, it's a personal taste. Play around with the exposure and contrast just a little bit. I like to see the images just a little bit darker, but that's my style. And once again, this is one of those I knew as soon as I looked, it was yours. And I love how you shoot and how you make us go on a journey on the simplest of things.
Okay, and now we have Shattered View of Building by Mary Pierce.
Okay, anybody who's been at the state hospital on the grounds, recognizes this place. And well, I felt like there were some grid lines in the summer sailboats. Here they are certainly more obvious, some clearly dividing both the horizontal and the vertical in thirds, and then those smaller grid lines in the windows. I love this kind of structure, and the colorful jagged reflections in the broken windows for me are kind of symbolic of the many beautiful and broken lives that were once housed at the asylum. If we want to look at some symbolism in an image. But the colors and the reflections are rich and the image is distorted. The brick seems untouched by time, and yet the broken windows and the rusted frames tell a different story there. The layers of reflection and diverse images in the windows makes me wonder how they could all occur in the same place. I know those grounds, but I'm really curious about that. The cropping reveals some really great framing that it's really straight on the edges without any distortion. And so that also makes me wonder how it was captured, because most of those windows and reflections like that are pretty high up. So anytime I've tried to do something like that, the windows are always angled. And so I don't get those straight edges. So it's great. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, so I'm curious too. So Mary, if you want to unmute yourself, then you could give us a little backstory on the image.
Thanks. Can you hear me, you guys?
Yeah.
I actually think there's a little hill there, where it meets at the corner. There's that stop sign, and that's kind of on a little hill. So you're elevated a little bit and you can get straight on, because I did have a lot of trouble getting it straight. And most of them were kind of on an angle, and that was tough to recrop. So I stood on that little elevation and it was much more successful. But thank you for all the kind comments. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, next up is Shrouded by Rochelle Stark.
Black and white. I never would have thought of doing that on a shot of reflections like this. It took it to another level that I wouldn't have seen had it been in color, I don't think. You don't know if it's fall or if it's spring or if it's winter just before or after the snow. But it's just a stunning picture. And the way the tree and the reflections, it takes you right through the center of the picture, back across the water there, through the cattails and into the trees on the other side. I mean, you're taken through this picture. And I think part of the magic of that is the black and white, that you're not distracted by colors and other things that are going to pull you away from that journey through this peaceful picture. The depth of field is the only thing that I wish I was a little bit sharper in the back end of the picture. It looks like you lose it about the lily pads. But it doesn't destroy the picture. I just want to see more because I'm greedy, and it's not giving it to me. So that's also part of the art, is making us want a little bit more. So great job. I love the choice of black and white on this, and I love how it just kind of makes me kind of want to wander through, and I can feel my body kind of twisting a little bit to the right as I'm walking through there, with my waders on, of course, because it's water and stuff.
Very nice. Okay, now we have Still Waters by Alan Hewer.
Okay, this is just a lovely, simple image, and the reflections along with the grasses create really fantastic geometric shapes throughout. You know, I see a football shape. I see what are those things you throw from Australia? The boomerang. I see a boomerang shape. I see some circles, some triangles. I just love what those grasses or reeds, whatever we want to call those. I love what those do in an image like this. And the bright blue and the green are hopeful and playful to me. And I enjoy the straight lines in the lower left, giving way the straight lines of the reflections. And if you look more toward the upper right of the reflections, you'll see they, because of the ripples in the water, they kind of turn into kinky, curly hair. And so that, I really like that contrast as well. Every stem is sharply in focus. And in an image like this, I think that's so important that the depth of field is really on point. And all in all, an image that's really totally my style and very well done.
I think Rick nailed it. It looks like a Tom Haxby image almost from a while back.
That's Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, did somebody comment? I wasn't.
Yeah, somebody commented down
Oh,
below.
sorry.
It does.
Yeah.
It does look
Yeah.
like something that Tom Haxby would have taken.
Yeah.
His
That's
colors
great.
would be as cool as that.
It's
Though.
hard to get a shot like that without those reeds moving around on you.
Mhm.
That's true. Okay, next up is String Theory, David Fox.
Once again, there's a couple of people who I know who took the picture as soon as I see it, and this is definitely a Dave Fox shot. Could have been a Rags shot, but no, this is probably a Dave shot. It has his look, and I like his work. It had me wondering at first if he, the guitar player, was in the room with the photographer or was on the other side of the glass. Because when I first looked at it, it looked like kind of just the glass was a little hazy or something. You were just seeing through that. And then I started to think that maybe the guitar player is in the room with the photographer and you're getting the reflection in there. I mean, that kind of makes sense since that's what our assignment is here.
You want my comment?
And then I started thinking again that maybe he's on the other side again. So I really couldn't nail it down on where he was. And that's what made me love this shot the way it is. And it makes me look and confirm what I think I'm seeing versus, oh yeah, oh wait. So I love it, Dave. I wouldn't change anything. I would love to hear your take on this.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a self-portrait, and it's a reflection in the front door of the house I was living in at the time. I was rehearsing with the harmonica that I was playing with, and I happened to look over and saw myself. I rarely have pictures of myself, so what I did is we took a little break. I set up a camera on a tripod, and then I have an interval meter, and I had it take pictures every 5 seconds. And I had it shoot, I think, like 15 frames. And then I just picked the one I wanted. And if you look right up just about where my chin is, you can see there's a shade there that was just almost pulled down to that one rail.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's a true reflection.
Well, that answers where you were then. And I thought it was you, but I wasn't positive because I haven't seen that look of Dave Fox in a while.
Very nice.
Great shot.
Okay, next is Summer Light by Alan Hewer.
Okay, I think Alan rotated this reflection 180 degrees and cropped it just so he almost created like this undersea scene of a brilliant range of greens and blues, punctuated by some browns and orange a little bit in there, tan. And I'm half expecting to see a tropical fish come swimming through at any moment. I'm fascinated by what appears to be floating vegetation on the middle left, because I don't think that's what it is. I think the water line, I do think this is rotated, and I think the water line is below that. So maybe it's suspended in the water. I'm interested in hearing from Alan about that. But I think the image is great as it is, with the subject just off center a little bit. If I were editing, I might play with the crop on the bottom just to see if I could get rid of the real vegetation. But that might make it too blunt. So that's just a question, a wonder I have about that image. But Alan?
Yeah, go ahead, Alan, you're unmuted. Yep.
She liked the waviness of the weeds in the last one, so I decided to rotate this one and get the same effect. But she's correct. I rotated it 180 degrees.
Yeah, and the moss or the algae to the left, is that below the surface, or where was that?
Yeah, it's floating on the surface. You'd have to look upside down. The part on the bottom is the actual image.
Yeah.
The water line is just off the bottom of the picture, so you're looking at almost all reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, excellent.
Oh,
Very
right,
creative.
that'd be, yeah, okay.
Okay. Next is surface effects, Jay Peterson.
Ooh,
Oh,
You know, when I saw this, I thought it was somebody else's. I thought for a minute it was Carol's. Because it had me wondering, what the heck am I looking at?
it's beautiful.
And I love the black and white here. I love not knowing exactly what I'm seeing or where it is, or I had to look at it for a little while to realize I'm looking in the water and it's not just crinkled paint on a wall or whatever the heck else Carol somehow magically pulls up, and that this is a reflection in a river or a body of water. It's got a little bit of movement in it. You kind of see the waves, and that's what's giving you that texture. It's a stunning shot, and you had me trying to figure it out again for a little while, and I like that I have to think on some of these shots. It's really a cool shot.
Okay. Next is Through the Looking Glass by Alicia Erickson.
Okay, so I think Alicia had a really great time with the assignment this month of reflections, because this is the second one that she's really worked at creating and not just finding. So at first I thought this was a framed mirror that she captured the cloudy sky above, but now I don't think that, of course, because the photographer would be right in the middle of that reflection, or in the mirror. And also the shadows on the top edge of the grass stop. So I would think they would be carrying through into the image if that was truly a reflection. But there's wonderful autumn color and texture all the way around the edge, and then this dreamy cloudy sky taking us someplace else, inviting us to continue to see that in our futures, I think. And some more experimentation could lead to some really intriguing images. So am I right, Alicia? That was done in post and not really a reflection of the sky?
It is a reflection of the sky, but I used the straightening tools in Lightroom because I took it at an angle a little bit to keep myself out of the shot.
Oh, wow.
And so Lightroom does a great job of squaring up the mirror.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, you can see the frame reflected along this edge, I think, which would be the only hint, I think.
The top edge of the frame too, you can see it.
Yeah, the top edge as well. That's about the only hint you get that that's what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I
I
saw this,
know.
I thought Photoshop at first too, and then I looked, I'm like, if it is, it's an amazing Photoshop job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even more amazing that it's not Photoshopped and
Yeah.
I was all thinking it was.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well done, Alicia.
Yeah. Next up is Two Barns on Silver Lake by Mary Pierce.
You know, I'm not a big fan of cutting stuff off of a picture. I would normally say this is awful. Why'd you cut the roof off of the barn on the top and the bottom? But I actually like this one. I think that really adds to the picture. Sometimes you do stuff that your mind says don't do this, and it makes the shot. I love how the barn's off to the left, and you got the trees and the reflection, the darker part of the water. I normally say try to lighten up those trees in the foreground so you can see what it is, but I wouldn't change that. I like how this shot is taken. I like what's cut off. I like what's left. You've got me wanting to see more, but enjoying what's there. And a lot of times when you cut those roofs or you cut something off, like the top of the silo, you'd be saying, why isn't that there in the image? And I want to see it. And this one, I really like that it's not there. I think it mirroring itself in the water being cut off on the bottom, kind of the same too. When you look in the reflection down low at the bottom of the frame, you can see the roof of the silo that you can't see in the other image. So you're getting a little peek into what's there. But you have to really look. I didn't see that the first couple of times I glanced at this. And I was going, where is more? But I'm glad more is not there. I like how the focus is on this. I think the focus is perfect from front to back. I'm not saying it's tack sharp. I'm saying it's perfect to give you that depth of field that you want to see there. I love the contrast on this one. I think it's just perfect. It shows that that it's not a flat surface. You're seeing some depth there, and you're getting at the layers of the different, on the left and the right of the image of the trees and the grasses and the river, the bank, and great job. I really like this one.
Okay. And then next up is Unnoticed by Mark Cram.
So this is another really beautiful study of reflections that had me looking really carefully to try to figure out what I was looking at. So I found the water line first, and then it's unusual not to really connect where things are reflected from. Like there's that piece of birch right there in the front that looks like it's just kind of translucent. And I think I figured out where it's reflected from based on looking at that grass, like that's coming right out of the center of the image and growing up. And I see where the reflection falls in the water. So I think that reflection in the lower right is, from that distant log in the upper right. But it's just not what I expect when I think that I'm going to look at reflections. So I really found this to be challenging in such a positive way, studying reflection and how light bounces from one place to another. And again, the birch and the reflections at the edge of the image move toward Impressionism. And I think they look like they are lit from within. It's a beautiful image that demonstrates the beauty that can even be found in decay.
Yeah, great work,
Great.
Mark.
Okay. Next is Walk the Plank by Dennis Holly.
I'm just going to shut up for a minute and let you look at this picture. Okay, that was a minute, give or take.
Yeah.
It's a simple shot. It's just a really nice, simple shot. The fog in the background makes you wonder how far off does that lake go? How far, am I using a telephoto lens to get this? Am I standing quite a ways away from the plank, if you will? I love the exposure, I love the exposure too, but I love the focus on the plank, the dock, the ladder, the rocks, the inner tube. there's only one little thing that I keep going to and looking at, and it keeps distracting me. And that's about, on the plank, about a third of the way in from the left, there's a big white rock in the middle of the plank. I think if you stood up just a little bit taller, you'd have had that division between that rock and that shoreline, and would have shown the distance of that image. I like the rock. I like where it's at. I think I would love it just a little bit more if you were just to stand up just a smidge, or maybe drop down just a little bit, so that that rock doesn't look like it's sitting on top, and maybe it is sitting on top and I just can't tell. So it looks like it's sitting on top of the plank. It's kind of that whole, when you take photo classes and stuff, they say to pay attention to your background, what's behind, so you don't have the antlers coming up from the trees behind. But I love this shot. It's just stunning. I talk about sliding this tool or dodging and burning here to pull out some. You've done it all, or you got really lucky and nailed the shot in camera pretty good. Because for me to get something like this, I'd be having to play around with the rocks down below to get that detail. I'd have to be using my brushes and the different tools. But this is the details, and even in the reflection are just, it's a stunning image. Really well done.
Okay, next up is Weathered by Rochelle Stark.
There is so much detail, texture, and shape in this image. I enlarged it as much as I could, and I looked back to front. And I think editing in black and white was a great choice. There are so many details here, and I would imagine in real life a lot of color that just distracted from the texture and the shapes. So those white stumps and reflections that are the subject right in the center, sometimes I think, it's a castle. It's the remains of an old castle. Maybe those are bones sticking out of the water, or is that a curled up human body? The light sky nearby reflected in the water actually doesn't look like sky to me. It looks like part of that image. So that's really fascinating. The gnarled tree roots, the bark, the vines are in focus right behind. And I find them to be a stately backdrop to this, not for me, not at all distracting. Although the image is dark, I don't find it to be frightening or foreboding or anything like that. I think it's really beautiful. I think it would be a wonderful print and framed. And it's my taste, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay. Next is Follow the Yellow Leaf Road by Jim Jurowitz.
You know, I had written.
Are we into open now?
This one begins the open.
I had written up a really nice thing about this one, and I copied and pasted, and somehow I ended up with, I love how the black piano changed the exposure of the hands. Not what's supposed to be here. This is one of those shots that I look at and I can see sitting on it, going into a dentist office or a doctor's office or a business and having this picture on the wall. It takes you along a journey. It makes you just kind of relaxed, and it's a great shot that could be put pretty much anywhere in a professional way. See, when I type it up, it comes out a little bit nicer. It would just be, I think, a really great shot for a professional setting, for a wall hanging, for an art, for an entranceway or an office. The only thing that I might change a little bit is I might use a gradual filter, kind of darken up the top part just a little bit, because it's so, I want to walk that path, but my eyes are being taken up into the sky. And maybe if you darken that up just a little bit, you'd see the details of the leaves and stuff, and you'd feel like you're walking through the leaf. But I love this shot, and like I said, I think this is one that you could have, that people who have professional offices would love to have put up on that wall. I think it's a great job. there's nothing other than that, maybe darkening up the upper part a little bit that I would change. And I really hate that you can't see my hand movements much.
Okay. Along the Boardwalk by Helen Denoyer.
Okay, although this is in the open category, there's a lot of reflection in this image. And I think they're really wonderful. And the light rays of the sun, again, if your screen is a little bit bigger than mine, the light rays are very obvious from coming down from the bottom of the sun. And they're warmly colored, but yet there's some mist off to the right. I think that's mist or fog that suggests that it might be, the air might be a little colder than that warm sun suggests. The water is calm, and so walking out on a bridge that goes so far out over the water doesn't seem overly dangerous, but there's always some uncertainty. And I find that the way that walkway tips and bends kind of suggests that uncertainty on a man-made structure. So this pathway kind of tipping and tilting, going out in the direction of the water, or direction, but not quite to the sun, for me is kind of a metaphor. I always search for some symbolism or meaning. The sun being a metaphor for our journey through life. And, it's hard to get there. It's not a direct route. I think this is a really a beautiful image with a lot of imagery and metaphor for me.
And next we have Beyond the Pines by Mark Cram.
I love this shot. I like how you can see the trees, you can see the bark, you can see all of that, but yet it kind of looks like it should be in shadow. And the sky and the tree, the leaves or the needles aren't all blown out. I mean, you can see the sun in the picture. It's in front of you, and you're on the back side of the trees, and you can see the detail of the bark all the way up the tree. So I was just stunned at this one. I was trying to figure out how he got that to happen without blowing everything out. It's a great shot, and I love the perspective. It comes down to, once again, working that scene, and he worked it, and he took a shot that not a lot of folks do. You see some of this a little bit, but I really like how this one turned out. And I am curious how he got the bark and the back side of the tree so well lit.
So Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about it? You'll need to unmute, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. We were up at Hartwick Pines about a month ago, roughly, and I had my 55mm lens on, and I was just kind of taking a few shots here and there, and I saw the sun kind of starting to peek through, and I'm like, it'd be kind of a cool shot if I can get it. And it must have taken probably, I don't know, 30 shots. So when I was going through them, I'm like, I actually got what I was looking for. Because I was with a group of people, we're out hiking, and they were waiting for me. I'm like, I wanted to stop because I was trying to get this right shot. And I'm like, I think I got with what I was looking for here. So it's kind of like one of those luck shots.
Excellent.
Good job.
Thanks.
Okay. Next is Bufka Farm in Color by Tim Wade.
Hey, so much depth here. The barn feels rich with history in this early autumn picture. The leaves are starting to turn, but many are still green and none are really dropping. The depth of field it captures the grass in front all the way to the branches, the leaves, the wood grain on the barn, the rusty roof, the shutters, the small star in the shade of the roof line there. It's all in focus. And yet this has, it's sharp, but it has that hazy autumn look that you get when the sun is low, starting to get low in the sky. My only wonder is what more grassy space in the front between the photographer and the barn would look like. But you know, perhaps the barn would look grander, but I think this perspective tells a pretty intimate story about the structure.
There's actually probably a lot more space between the barn and the very foreground than it appears. And I've been shooting this barn for several years, and I think this is the best capture I've gotten yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, it pleased me finally.
Tim, what was the what lens did you use?
I believe I've got a it's a 30, I want to say a 28 to 85 or 35 to 85, something like that. And I was probably a little tiny bit on the wide side, not hugely so though.
The sharpness is just, it's just striking as you look at the image.
Yeah, I worked really hard to get that too. It was, I was far enough away I could get it that way. Let's put it that way. I'd get enough distance, then your depth of field is more forgiving, I guess. So
it's beautiful. Just those muted colors, beautiful, everything about it.
Thank you. Next we have the College Fjord by Rick Sack.
You know, I spent a lot of time in the Coast Guard and always wanted to get up into an area like this and never had the opportunity in one of our boats. But I feel like I'm right there. I can, you know, it's a great capture. I love how the bank on the left there kind of draws my eye up into up the water, up into the little valley there between the two hills and up to the peak there at the very back. You know, I talk about working the shot. I don't know if I'd change how the camera was turned or where you were sitting or when you did this, because it just takes me kind of up to I want to go up to the shore, and I want to go up along the shoreline up into that little valley there and see what's up above that, over that hill. I love how it kind of goes out of focus a little bit as you go up into there from the snow and the clouds and maybe some fog or mist there. I love the exposure. I love the colors. The only thing that I might change would be on the left-hand side in the top part and the mountain closest to us, maybe try to pull some detail out of there, but I'm not sure that would make this shot or not. It might ruin the feel that you've got here. I'm jealous of where you are because this is one of the places, or looks like one of the areas I would have loved to have been able to travel at taxpayers' expense on one of our big red boats in the Coast Guard.
This was
So Rick, you gotta tell us about this shot. Tell us about this shot. It's beautiful.
Sure. This was taken 9 years ago, which is why I didn't put it in the assignment category, even though it's a reflection. But I took this up in Alaska on a cruise, so I'm shooting this from the lowest deck of a large cruise ship in Alaska.
Nice. Wow. And a moving boat at that too, huh?
Well, it wasn't moving at this point. They took us into the fjord where it's called College Fjord because there are, I don't know how many glaciers, and they're all named after Eastern colleges. I think that's Yale Glacier in the far distance there at the end. And so they took us in there and then would stop the ship for a while to allow us to look around and get pictures. And this was such a clear, bright day, which is fairly unusual in Alaska in the springtime like this. So we were just very fortunate to get this kind of weather and be able to see this.
Yeah, wow. Way to go.
Okay, next up is Compliments by Alan Hewer.
The crop of this capture of rolling waves is tight enough to create another abstract representation of the water, but it doesn't take me completely out of the context of the shore. The colors are so rich, from the black to various hues of green and blue to the gold that is speckled with a dark, dark brown. And while those couple of highlights are a little blown out and there's you don't see the detail in a few spots, it totally takes me back to a sunset on Lake Michigan where it's bright and you have to avert your eyes because you can't look out that way. I think that image is lovely, and this could easily be a painting with great brush strokes, easily a painting as it is a photograph. It's very nice. Nice, Alan.
All right. Next is Door Study by Carol Greilick.
This one upsets me. I don't know how many times I've walked by a shot like this and never thought about taking it. It's an everyday we walk by something and we just don't think about pulling out our camera, and it turned out to be an amazing shot. And I'm like, oh, I could have got something like this. Oh, I should have got something like this. Why didn't I take that shot? Now, when I'm up at the Commons and I'm touring the historic buildings, I'm looking for this. But every day we walk by something that just taken, something that's common that we walk by or we use every day. And we fail to look at it as possibly being art. And this turned out amazing. And it upsets me so much that you found something so simple that we walk by all the time. And now if I take this shot or something similar to this, I'm copycatting Carol. And believe me, I'm going to be doing that. But I love the texture of the paint or the stain on the wall that peeled off in the growth rings. And I like how you see the little, what are they called? The biscuits that they were put into the plywood to fill it in. And I love how you underneath the door handle, it's a little different than the color around. You got some moss or something, but for some reason underneath the door handle, it didn't go. Could have been the zinc that was there that was coming down. It was killing that lichen or the what have you. I love the leaves in the bottom. It's another layer of texture. You've got your lines, your horizontal lines. You've got the squiggly print from the paint and the growth rings, and you've got the little bit of mechanical there of the lock and the handle set. And oh, I'm so mad I didn't think of getting something like this myself. It was just, as I look at this, I go, why I've seen this shot and I didn't see this shot. So it reminds me that maybe every now and again in life I need to stop and not be in such a hurry to get to my next place, and maybe enjoy just some of the beauty that's right there that we take for granted because it's an old paint peeling off building that really does have some beauty in it. So great job. The only thing that bugs me a little bit is the right-hand side. That piece of plywood is really bright. You're getting some glare off of there. So I might have cheated and tried to darken that little section up there so that my eye didn't keep getting pulled away from all the other textures and layers and just make me so angry beauty that's there.
Question, did you think about cropping that right-hand side off a little bit just to get rid of the lower right and upper right corners? Not a criticism, I'm just curious if you thought about it.
I did think about it.
Yeah.
I did think about it, and I didn't do it to make the comparison. And so it really doesn't take that much time or effort to do it. You're absolutely right, but I did think about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's, it works either way. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It adds another layer of depth to that image that once again makes me so angry I haven't stopped and taken this shot.
Okay. Next up, we have The Forest Smurf Village by Steve Engel.
Okay, I don't know much about foraging for wild mushrooms, but I do know I love to eat them. I will refrain from saying that I would love to pick and saute these until Steve lets me know it's okay. But are these edible?
I don't think so.
Probably
I'll
not.
unmute Steve
Don't
so you
know
can.
for sure. I could check.
Okay. I don't, they're, but I love the title. It's fun. The color is rich. The vegetation is so green and healthy. The title makes me smile. The depth of field is relatively shallow, so that even the back of the mushrooms are starting to soften up a little bit. But the important part, that front edge, is really crisp. And furthermore, that background bokeh and the curve growth pattern of those 5 mushrooms as they're kind of lined up and curved right there, it just really creates a very beautiful composition. And wonder in the background if the focus just dropped out or if there was a slight amount of wind that helped that. Help the appearance of those grasses.
It was a bit breezy.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Okay, and next we have Geometry by Alicia Erickson.
You know, this is another one I had really nice notes written up on and lost, but I don't think I need them. I love how you go from that nice glassy surface to the image, but yet the glassy surface is part of that image. It makes it. If you didn't have that much negative space filled with that beautiful reflective water, you wouldn't be drawn into the turbulence of the water crashing on the rocks and spraying here and there. And I love that it's a black and white or monochromatic image, that you're not distracted by the color. You're looking at what's there and you're seeing, you know, all the turbulence that happens underneath the surface. And that's kind of what I look at it as you're seeing, you know, on top of the water, everything's nice and calm, but underneath there's a whole lot of turbulence and stuff going on that you don't normally see. And this just gives you an insight into that. I wouldn't change anything on this. I wouldn't pull out my little magic slider to dehaze it. I wouldn't change the exposure. I wouldn't change how it's cropped. I wouldn't change any of that. I think it does a great job of it tells me that although everything on the surface may look calm, not too far away, there's some turbulence going on. So buckle in for that ride.
Yeah, it's great.
So Lisa, this is Rug Pond, right?
Yeah, yep.
That's awesome. What a great take on that. That's awesome. Way to go.
I wish I'd have thought
Thank
of
you
black
so
and
much.
white myself on this, because that really, I've got a shot similar to this and it's not as powerful. The black and white
agree.
makes it.
Where was that at again?
It's Rug Pond.
Rug Pond Natural Area. It's between Kalkaska and Rapid City.
Yep.
Yep.
It's on Rapid City Road.
Cool. Okay, next up is Invigorated by Ann Kennedy.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, here is another reflection in the open category. And it looks like Anne had fun with this assignment as well. The image here has a lot of reflection, and it can be kind of disorienting. It is for me anyway. So I see the grass and the reeds growing up out of the water and upward, and yet that clearly reflected tree with the yellow leaves is growing in the wrong direction. It's growing opposite. So for me, that's disorienting, and it's what makes this reflection fun. The composition for me challenges how I see things and how things grow. If this were my image, I would play with rotating it around to see what a 180-degree turn will do. But it's way fun.
Great.
And a 90-degree turn would be fun too, because that'd really mess with people.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, up next is late fall colors. Jerry Stutzman.
I really like this picture, but the sky looks weird to me. It looks like the color on the sky is just off. Now that could be, we're in northern Michigan and the sky does weird things, but it looks a little greenish to me. Maybe it's just my monitor. But this is definitely capturing what's going on here in northern Michigan right now. You got you can tell where that tree is. It shouldn't be water there. It's showing how we're changing. Things are changing just a little bit here, and I love this shot. I love what I'm looking at, but that sky is just blowing my mind. It looks so not real. And I'm not saying it's not, it's just that feeling you get from it. The clouds are white. So whatever was going on that day, the light messed with my eyes and it keeps dragging me up there. But I love the colors of the trees. You're just starting to see the fall, or the fall is just ending. You're losing the bright reds. And it shows, that nature is going to do its thing with how the water's coming in. Is your computer nightlight on? It could be, I don't know. But I love the story that this is telling about how nature is going to take over, and we really have no say in what it does, and water is always going to win. I don't know what I'd change on this shot other than maybe my computer monitor with that sky. Is anyone else, is that my monitor? Does that sky look really a blue?
It doesn't look off to me. I mean, okay. It's very blue, but I didn't think it was, off blue.
It's got kind of a greenish tint for some reason I'm picking up.
Oh.
That must be my monitor then.
Could be your monitor, yeah. Yeah, it's blue. It's very light blue, like a baby blue kind of blue.
Yeah, that's not what I'm seeing. Yeah, so it's got to be my monitor. It's got, like I said, it's got a greenish tint to it for some reason. So never mind about the sky being weird. That is just my monitor, folks. And anything I talked about your colors being great, it might have been my monitor.
Okay. Next image.
Next is Lyrid over Lake by Rags Avery.
Okay, there is nothing like an astronomical image to put us on our place in the universe, and Rags image does just that. The deep blue, kind of an electric blue sky, and the Milky Way, and the beautiful meteors help us see just how much of creation is way out there. That the primitive transportation represented by that red canoe, which to me anchors this image, contrasts with the expanse of space. So the one thing though I'm curious about, Rags, is why the stars that are reflected in the water show movement and the ones in the sky do not.
Oh,
so like
yeah.
the stars, there are star trails in the water, but I don't see them in the sky. Am I just not picking it up?
Well, what's happening is the brightest stars, it's probably a 20-second image. So the reflections in the water are going to be just a little bit movement, where the stars in the sky are crisp. It's part of a time lapse I did. I picked this image out of about 400 images I took. So, and that's Jupiter coming up over the horizon with Mars and Venus. And then the Lyrid, sometimes when they go flashing by, they'll do a little burst, and that one did a burst.
It's awesome.
Just stunning. Stunning. Thank you for that explanation.
Okay. Next up is Mealtime by Bill Mumford.
Oh, let me get to my notes. There we are. I like this shot. This is one of those subjects that I find myself there for hours. watching them crawling around on the ground. I'd be crawling around on the ground, hovering over them, looking at this top down view like this at every angle. I'd love to work the heck out of this. It's such a cool thing to see all these little ladybugs. And is that a stink bug? I always call it one. It might not be, but that other bug that's there. The orange could be my monitor again, but the orange looks just a little dull to me. It's not as bright as I normally, or as orange as I normally see the ladybugs. Once again, could be my monitor, we've learned. I'm craving just a little bit more pop out of that. The focus is dropping a little quicker than I like. I think the aperture was a little big. The number was a little small, so the aperture was a little big, I think. I want to see that whole rock in focus where the bugs are on, to see all the stuff that's on it, that they're mealtime, that they're eating, or that's left around behind it. It seems to be dropping out of focus just a little sooner than I'd like. But all the ladybugs and the other bug there looks like they're tack sharp. It's just that the rock is starting to drop sooner than I'd like. Other than that, I think that's just an amazing image, and I wish I'd had some time to see this and hover around it and crawl around it and take different angle shots myself. But I think this one turned out really, really, really nice. Once again, the sharpness of the focus of the insects are great. I just want to see a little bit more of that rock myself.
And so, Bill, I got you unmuted, or you were unmuted. Bill, so what kind of a situation created that?
This was taken on the beach at,
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This was taken at the beach at Point Betsy, and there must have been 30 stones around the beach that all had ladybugs on them like this. And the ladybugs actually were more yellow than you normally see them orange.
Oh.
I was surprised at that myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize till later that the ladybugs are actually eating that other bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I see that.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Yep. Next up is Reflections on a Pyramid, John Gill.
Okay, so, crystals that bend light to me seem to create magic, as does this one here. So again, I looked and looked and looked, and I'm not positive. I think this is an image I can't quite figure out. I think it's done inside on, is it on maybe a piece of a mirror, or on like in a tub of little pan of water. What I'm not sure about is where the band of color comes from at the bottom.
Right.
Is it totally created in camera? Was it created in post? In any case, I think the colors are vibrant, and they tell us a lot about what light really is, and I'm interested in how it was created.
You got me?
John? Yeah, go ahead, John. Yep.
Okay, what that is, if you can see me, I'm holding it up here. It's a little tiny pyramid. It's 1.5 inches on the side of crystal, and I took it on a piece of mirror. It's about 5 inches on the side, and the edge of the mirror is beveled, which is why we've got that band of color at the bottom.
Yeah. That'll do it.
And basically, the only thing I did the whole thing in the camera, except for because of the size of the mirror and shooting at the angle, I had some of the background in the top 10 or 15% that I just colored in.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Cool.
And I had light coming from above and from the side. And this little pyramid just has got so many facets on it that the light just goes crazy.
boy, it's stunning. And that, the physical world, yeah, we had a little tool here to show us, but light is amazing. Really nice.
Yeah.
I was pleased the way this one came out. It
Mhm.
basically didn't do much of anything in post other than
Fun.
filling in the top piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Next up is Tree in the Fog, Mary Ellen Sullivan.
So I really like the shot, and when I started looking, I was wondering if you're in the woods at the edge of a field getting ready to walk into the woods, or is there a lake on the other side of those trees? I mean, that fog just creates so much mystery to what that image is. I really, I thought about maybe a little bit on the dehaze to pull some clarity out of those trees a little bit. Then I realized that no, that would be dumb. That would completely ruin the shot. That would take away that mystery of what's there. The look of this image is like something spooky or eerie is about to happen or just happened, and I want to know what. I want to know what's going to happen. I'm on the edge of my seat of what's going to happen in this shot. There's something about to occur that is going to scare the bejesus out of me. Not a good one to look at before I go out hunting in the dark. Very nice shot. I wouldn't change anything on it. I love the crop. It's got me wanting to know so much more about where this is. And that's when you've got a good image, is when people are looking at it going, what is it? Where am I? What's on the other side of those woods? Is it the masked chainsaw guy going to come out of there, or is it just going to lift and be a beautiful day?
Stephen King lives in there.
But I don't think I'd change anything on this.
Do you remember Montana de Oro State Park?
Which?
It's right on the coast, just south of Morro Bay.
Okay.
Los Osos. That's going into the park.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's not going into it. You're in it for a while, but the fog was just really dense. So on the opposite side of all this would be the coast, and that's up looking into the hills.
Gotcha. Beautiful job.
And in the Morro Bay one, Morro Rock was on the right-hand side, but I was across from the golf course by the bird sanctuary, so you couldn't see the rock. It was just the bay.
Gotcha. Whenever I hear Morro Bay, I always see the rock.
Yep, didn't in that one.
Threw me for a loop on that one.
Okay. All right. Next up is Turtle Sunning with John Gill.
Okay, what an eye to see this, because it's so easy to overlook images like this and situations like this. I wonder, when I look at it, how long that turtle's been sitting there sunning himself, because the water is so still and without any ripple. Well, very few. I guess the grass there is rippling a little bit. The images, the turtle is almost camouflaged there in the grass and the reeds. It reminds me of how much there is to see in nature if we just slow down long enough to look at it. And I find myself, because I do this, trying to play with images, wondering what it would look like if it was rotated 90 degrees to the left. So the turtle and its reflection actually flank that dark log, and it creates just a different sort of shape. But anyway, it's lovely and a great lesson.
And now we have Water's Edge by Rochelle Stark.
I like this image. The brights just look a little brighter than I'd like, or the contrast isn't quite there to really make me get sucked into this picture. But the way it is, I feel myself sitting on the bank, kind of relaxing, maybe a fishing pole in the hand. It takes me there, and it makes me want to explore that area. I like the composition. I can't think what those flowers are, the plants right up in the foreground. I'd be like, oh, those destroy it, but it gives you the feeling of how far that bank is away. You're not right there. It's a little bit of ways from you. So those add to it. And normally I'd be like, yeah, get those out of there, but not on this one. I like the details on the old age log across the way, but yet you kind of start to lose the details in the needles, or the must be needles of the trees there. It's just a nice soft feeling. It's kind of a peaceful, relaxing. And I think that's why I feel like it's a little too bright. But of course I tend to shoot a little darker. I tend to underexpose shots. So that'd be my personal taste on that. I love how clear the water is, and you can see the bottom, but yet get the reflection. So it's a good job. I like it a lot.
Okay. And lastly, we have Honduran Woman by Mary Pierce. And Andy, that's back to you.
There we go. So I looked at it and looked at this picture, and I can't figure out if it's morning or if it's evening. I get the feeling that it's an evening shot, and she's walking home from the market, getting ready to go make dinner or something. But I can't tell where she's at. It's got me wanting to know. I want to explore through this picture. I like that you can't see the face, that you're asking questions about who it is and what she's doing, or what I guess she is a dress, what she's doing. The only thing that I really don't like about this image is in the bottom, there's a blue can. Right in the middle at the bottom, there's a blue can that my eye keeps going down to, instead of looking at the texture of the ground and the nice shadow that's caused by the low setting sun, and the paint peeling on the building behind the panel of people that we've got, and the column. I mean, it's such a simple shot that's got me wanting to ask so many more questions, and it's taken really well. That has you wanting to know more. The details in the crumbling concrete, and the pillar, and the textures of the ground are very nice. It's a good photojournalistic shot that I can see being in a magazine, or in like a National Geo, or one of those that has a story behind it. I want to see that story now. So if there's a story behind it, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. That's a wrap then, folks.
All right, great. Thanks, Tim. And let's give a big shout out to our panelists, Carol and Andy, for taking the time to review all these images. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you all.
Guys did a great job. Great images tonight. Panelists, just to remind you, you'll need to get your nominations for the President's Award to Tim and Ann, so they can get that to the board.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I have a couple questions for you too. So,
great job, everybody! Excellent photos. Proud of you. Yeah,
good. Okay,
right, great. All right, thanks. Happy holidays, everybody. Have a good Christmas.
Yep.
See you next month.
Thanks, bunches. Bye.
Everybody stay safe.
Yeah.